Now, let's officially kick off at number 10 with the Barrett 50 cal in COD 4. That's right, the famous Barrett 50 cal, and normally the semi-automatic snipers in Call of Duty, they have pretty manageable recoil, so you can get follow-up shots and you can spam them, but the Barrett is probably the one semi-auto sniper in COD history that you can't spam like that. The recoil on this gun was insane, which is a pretty good thing because it hits extremely hard. So if people were aiming down sights and actually spamming it, it would have been completely broken. And I'm going to ask you, is there another semi-auto sniper in COD history that kicks as much as the COD 4 Barrett did? You let me know. At number 9, I'm about to get some hate. I do every time. Does anybody actually like this gun? Yes, there's going to be a small group of people in the comment section that are fad lovers, but if you're on my side of the fence, it's the fad in Modern Warfare 3. This is one of those weapons that it seems people just forget about because of how lame it was. It was the last assault rifle you unlocked in Modern Warfare 3, and it was pretty unpopular due to the awkward handling, the relatively low damage, the awful iron sights, and, you guessed it, the punishing recoil. Could you get work done with the gun? I guess, sure. But was it the optimal choice in terms of what was available for you to use? Definitely not. I don't think anybody would say the Fad was their favorite assault rifle in Modern Warfare 3, although, like I said, somebody in the comment section is going to say, Jimmy, we loved it so much, why you hate on it so much? There's always that one person, but, I mean, to be the last gun unlocked when you're grinding, At number 8, the FG42 in World at War. If you've only played COD World War II and not World at War, you're probably going to be shocked to see how fast the FG42 fired back in 2008. In COD World War II, the FG42 is a slow-firing, hard-hitting weapon, but back in a World at War, it was a complete bullet hose with some of the most punishing recoil the series had ever seen up to that point. People loved the gun, though, mainly for how amazing the firing sound was, but it was also because of how quickly you could delete people from the lobby. And honestly, I really don't have any idea what Sledgehammer was doing with the FG42 in COD World War II, but I guess that game is over and done with. It's in the rearview mirror, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Hopefully, the FG42 makes a comeback in Blackout the same way the MP40 did. At number 7, let's fast forward to Black Ops 3, and let's put the Vesper on this list. And Black Ops 3 was the first COD game to get pretty regular balancing changes and updates, but throughout all the updates, one thing never changed. One thing was inevitable. The Vesper's recoil was insane. The Vesper was definitely the fastest firing gun in the game, and it was a total melt machine up close, especially during one infamous week or two when it was buffed pretty hard. But actually getting it to cooperate with you, well, that was difficult, resulting in it not really being the most popular compared to some other SMGs. Now, the Vesper reminds me a lot of the Spitfire in Black Ops 4, but with even more recoil, if you can believe that. At number 6, and I have always dubbed these the bullet hoses. I say these because I always ran akimbo on this. The G18 in Modern Warfare 3. Now, Modern Warfare 3 is a pretty awesome game looking back on it. It was definitely the most content-filled game at launch. And one thing that people loved was the fact that it brought back tons of weapons from the first two Modern Warfare games. And the G18 machine pistol from Modern Warfare 2 was one of them. However, the G18 got a pretty hefty recoil increase from Modern Warfare 2, and personally, I think they may have gone a little too far. Now, the G18s in Modern Warfare 3 kicked insanely high, and if you pull the trigger down for more than a second or two, you will be looking straight up at the ceiling, and they were definitely the most effective while dual wielding them, since you could kind of mitigate, I guess, the kick a little bit, but a singular G18 in Modern Warfare 2 was insanely tough to control, and I personally liked the Modern Warfare 2 version better. Cracking into the top 5 today, the Waff 28 in COD World War II. This is an SMG that people really didn't take that well to. It seemed to be pretty good during the beta in the early days of the game's lifespan, but as time went on, it seemed that it just never really got the little buff that it needed to be a good weapon. One of the reasons why the Waff never really took off in popularity was the ungodly recoil. It fired insanely fast and you could totally hose people if you landed your shots, but that was a lot easier said than done. The Waff was one little buff away from being a pretty awesome gun, but unfortunately, it was stuck where it was for too long. At number 4, I hated this gun, the Mini Uzi in Call of Duty 4, COD 4. Taking it all the way back to 2007 for this one, guys, and in COD 4, which you know was the first game to introduce custom classes and kill streaks to players, totally changing the series forever as well as the FPS genre as a whole. Now, COD 4 also had a notoriously short time to kill, but weirdly, despite that fast TTK, the Mini Uzi wasn't exactly a popular pick in multiplayer, mainly because of the recoil. The Mini Uzi was a bullet hose and had one of the fastest theoretical times to kill the entire game, but the recoil just made it really difficult to deal with, and keep in mind, this was back before any kind of grip attachment was introduced in Call of Duty. So, if you didn't like the recoil on a certain gun, guess what? You had to deal with. Now, personally, like I said, I didn't really like the Uzi, and on top of it, with the recoil, it was just tough to deal with in-game, and it punished you for your mistakes very, very hard. At number 3, the infamous Scorpion Evo in Black Ops 2. What a gun, man. This gun was a favorite by many people in BO2, but it had a pretty steep learning curve, largely due to its recoil. Now, the Scorpion was the fastest firing SMG in the game, and it could delete people almost instantly if you managed to close the gap. It was so strong that some people even called it overpowered, but I personally disagree with that because the whole balancing mechanic of the gun was the recoil. If you aren't really good at managing recoil and predicting the patterns, you simply aren't going to do well with this gun any further than point-blank range, and even that can be debatable at times. The Scorpion Evo is definitely one of the most fondly remembered guns from Black Ops 2, and I personally would be surprised if we saw it make a comeback during Black Ops 4's lifespan, perhaps as a bonus weapon in Blackout or something. At number 2, speaking of memorable Black Ops 2 weapons, the Executioner was a fun little sidearm that many people tried to get really good with, but most failed, partly due to how underpowered it was and some recoil. The Executioner was this weird shotgun revolver hybrid gun with pretty low damage and a very long reload time that could not be shortened. But to top it all off, the recoil was bad, making it almost impossible to get follow-up shots if you didn't drop someone with the first pull of the trigger. And let's be honest, that hardly ever happened. The Executioner was definitely a fun weapon to mess around with, and I'm glad it was in the game, but it was underpowered. If they had just increased the range or sped up the reload a little bit, it could have been good. And finally, at number 1, and I'm going to cheat again because it's my video and I can. I'm going to give you guys 2. The first one being the Modern Warfare 2 F2000. Ugly gun, tons of recoil. I know there's people that swear by this gun. I could just never really attach myself to this gun, and it had some dumb recoil. So I wanted to put that one, and you can't have a craziest recoil COD history video without paying homage to the FMG9 in Modern Warfare 3, the most infamous weapon in COD history, the machine pistols. While most people remember this thing of how blatantly overpowered it was when it was in akimbo form, I'm talking about it in single weapon form. In order to unlock the akimbo attachment, you had to do some work with the single gun, and that was torture. The single FMG9 kicked so freaking much, and the fire rate made you burn through ammo almost instantly after pulling the trigger. And it's pretty crazy to think that putting this gun in akimbo mode actually made the recoil more manageable. But the singular FMG9 definitely deserves a spot on the number 1 list. And I always wonder, do you think the developers did that on purpose? They knew everybody would want to use it in akimbo form, so they just made the singular form so unbearable to use in order to make the road to unlocking akimbo a total drag. I think they were trolling us.